So I think the most interesting question for us that we want to explore within this podcast is really the idea about what is strategy. And I think in a way, it can be formulated in many, many ways, right? Like, why do we need any form of strategy, right? And if you, let's say you view it from our perspective, is that how do we create or how do we earn our own luck, right? And that can potentially lead into many, many avenues, right? Like, let's say, how do we get the outcome that we want? How do we know, let's say, what actually are unknowns? What are the unknown unknowns, right? Those are all related to strategy in some sense. And that is the overarching idea that I think fascinates both of us and which actually we want to explore. For me, what actually is strategy? I think for me is really how do we get to like a form of base knowledge that's actually actionable, which in some sense is actually knowing what questions to ask so that we can actually get to a high level of competency, right? Um, and so that amongst all that, we can uncover and distill knowledge to get some form of edge, to get some form of advantage in um, our everyday life or in terms of our overarching goals, whether is it wealth, whether is it relationships, whether is it knowledge, whether is it, building our own company, for instance. I think all those things are in so many domains require some form of strategy. And I think what we want to explore is really to try to distill some of all those things and to actually like bring it across to everyone and to actually document in public our own learnings throughout this whole process. Yeah, so I'm also curious, what do you think about when you think about strategy?
I mean, I think for me, why we need strategy is because um, in every day we have options, right? There are many, many paths each day could go down, and each one has its own outcomes. When when we think about just getting an outcome without strategy, we are either um, fumbling around, or basically we don't have a God's eye to kind of see what are different paths that we should weigh and choose, and we don't have strong systems that we can use to get a consistent outcome. I think ultimately what matters to us is that consistent outcome. So for me, my what really drives me through this discussion is to kind of uncover what are the best ways that people who are at the top of their game have been doing. What are good strategies that we can apply on a daily basis that can help us elevate the way that we operate throughout the different choices of each of our very day. Yeah. And part of that, I think, which is the focus of our first few conversations, is um, around the concept of knowledge and how we can create a process or a system to kind of um, more actively make use of the knowledge that's around us and to kind of translate that into some form of actionable outcome.
Yeah, precisely. And in a way, I'm reminded of this quote, right? Which is that you don't fall to the level of like your goals or like whatever goals that you have, right? You fall to the level of the system. Um, like I guess to put it in artistic is like, let's say like a group of artists actually congregate. They don't talk about, what movements are we in? Are we, the post-impressionist movement, or are we the impressionist movement? They talk about what kind of paintbrushes are you using, right? And how do you actually get the color mix that you want, for instance. And essentially that is a form of like system that everyone needs in order to execute their strategy. Whether you have like a process ABC that you execute every morning, or do you actually go about, how do you actually uncover knowledge, for instance? Do you actually read a certain book? Or what kind of processes do you have to distill the knowledge from that book? I think those are all systems that we are all interested in understanding. And I think there's something that immensely interests us because I think from understanding those systems, that is where we get some form of edge, right? In terms of being able to better apply the things that we want to learn from, is into better learn from the things that we want, that we look up to, and also apply them to our day-to-day life. In a way, like every single action that we take is a vote, like um, towards like our future self. which is why systems matter, and which is also why we will be delving much deeper into this idea about systems in future episodes.